Back in the day when the Hunter Classic was the only game that we played on this channel, we would come to Val-Des-Bois a lot. When I needed a video and didn't really have any idea, or maybe didn't have a lot of time, this was the map I would choose because so often we were able to find a trophy or a rare without putting in a ton of time. And recently we've kind of only come to this map for ibex hunting and kind of avoided sort of the species that are in the lower part of the map, specifically around the river. But I was going through the competitions today, and there are a number of them active for those species that, like I mentioned, we haven't had a whole lot in the recent past. So today we're going to go after them and see if we can maybe have a little bit of a throwback to the days where we hunted this map and that specific area of this map all the time. And already we have a pretty good example of why this map tends to be so good. So we have a small stag coming in here. Looks like he was gonna stop for us. There we go. We can drop him with the recurve, and you can see in the bottom left there the chat. This is a multiplayer game, and kind of just continuing to test what we've been working on for probably a month or so now. But there's another better stag coming in from this side. I'd say probably a little bit above average. And there was a call from even a third one. I think that's actually gonna be him right there. Now, there was a set of tracks, so maybe he's with that hind. But they were kind of lighter weight, so I'm not too worried about that particular one. But there should actually be a third one yet, somewhere back in there. In the meantime, our other stag is pretty much right on top of us, and he's about to stop as well. Kind of an odd angle with him on that rock, but that's got him dead. And I still only see that one hind coming in back there. I mean, we'll try to drop it too, and then maybe sit and wait just in case. But I'm looking at it, I mean, we have 2 kills with the potential to get 3 right here at the beginning. And I've been talking about trying to get 1,000 kills with all of the different bows, and just the fact that we haven't been on Val-Des-Bois in a while, I hadn't thought of it, but this is probably the map to do it. Expectedly, he is a pretty small stag. I mean, 120 to 145 is definitely not as bad as it could get, but nowhere near the top end for sure. We do need to drop this hind first, and actually I turned around and looked as we were waiting. There is yet another stag, and kind of an above average one again, coming in from behind us. So going back to that point, we can just sit here and call, and just rack up kills for those total harvest counters. I would say the sooner the better for this shot, so yet again, trying to make a drop shot on the walk. He definitely heard it, but he doesn't quite know exactly what's going on, so he is almost in heavy recurve range himself. It seems like they don't stop for very long, so that's kind of going to help us here. Twice he actually just kind of did that little stutter step and is continuing in, but if we can manage to get him down, this hind back here, I heard it take off. Well, I was gonna say if we can manage to get him down, that'll be 5 red deer in this one area, and that's not really a big deal. He wasn't a huge stag or anything. And it was what I was going to get at, like the fact that we were going to be able to not spook anything in the area at all would have been nice. But the one nice thing is I want to kind of follow the river, and he ran up to the left side there, so we're going around this bend. It's not going to cost us really much to have him run off, but I mean, I was kind of getting to see all those kills come up with the heavy recurve and feeling like we were making some progress, so a little bit unfortunate to lose out on that. The good news is, I believe the best of all the red deer we shot is this guy who landed in quite the interesting position, but at least we actually did get that one. Double lung and liver shot him at 12 meters, and a 209 score is definitely not a bad way to start out a hunt like this. So an opportunity here to take a red stag from a tree stand, and this particular spot has been one of the best over the years, so I wanted to give it a shot. We'll probably sit here a little longer just in case. But I actually don't see much of anything else around, so there's a kind of little island here in the middle of the river that we have a tent on, and I wanted to fast travel here and just kind of see if anything showed up, and got our 1 stag, so definitely not too bad, but a lot of times there's a lot of other red deer and roe deer around, so I'd like to give it a chance for a little bit longer before we climb down and claim him. I guess it makes sense. I mean, there were so many red deer right down there at the beginning that maybe not as many have spawned up in this particular area, but that female red fox is the only other thing that has made any noise, so we're going to go ahead and grab our stag, lung, liver, intestine, and spine too of all things, and a 196 score to go along with that, and we'll kind of continue our way up the river, so hopefully up around this bend is going to be some more stuff, because this kind of general area is pretty dead. Well, we continue to encounter these kind of just above average red deer, which are nice, but they're not really anything I would consider special. 200 to 230 estimate on this one. And I was kind of thinking, the odd thing about this hunt is that we haven't seen a single brown bear nor any like brown bear tracks. We've pretty well covered the river, and I kind of just started roaming around to some other areas, but everything up in here and pretty much all along the river, I would say about where we were on that island north, tends to be alright for bears, and there's been just absolutely none, which is kind of odd. And they are one of the competition species that we are after, so it would have been nice to actually encounter one, but in the meantime, I believe another 209 red deer. I think we shot one earlier. In fact, we did, and just barely missed out on having our biggest one thus far by about 0.2, but that was another stag. A similar size. I don't think we're actually going to go and follow it, but the number of stags has been good, just none that are up there in the kind of trophy caliber. It's definitely not lost on me that I talked about it at the beginning, this map being so good for being able to get like a trophy or rare without putting that much time in. And after 2+ hours of hunting here, we're back in the same place where we started, shooting quite possibly one of the stags that was in that area. I really can't remember exactly like how big that one stag was. I wouldn't be shocked at all, by the way, if that's the hind that kind of messed things up to begin with, but we've kind of just gone all around this map. You can see we've just sort of made loops, primarily in the area where red deer would be, and there's been kind of a lot of nothing, so as much as I wanted to focus on the red deer, I think the move is going to be to head further north up the river, because it just seems that there's not really any trophy red deer in the area, and maybe there are and I've just missed them, but at this point, 2 hours in, they very well could have moved up the river to that area, so we might as well give it a shot. Before we do though, just quickly, I think we are going to try to take out this hind as well. I kind of figured she would start moving once she called. That is a thing in Hunter Classic. When pretty much any species calls, for whatever reason, they pretty much immediately will start walking again, so figured we'd take our time. We got a neck and lung shot there, and just adding another kill to our total for the heavy recurve, so we'll go and give that area a shot, and like I said, maybe red deer roaming up there, maybe there's a decent bear or roe deer waiting on us, because everything down there has been pretty much average. To spend over 2 hours down there in the southern part of the map, and then come up here to the north, and the first thing we see is a pair of roe deer with the exact same estimates. It's just such an odd thing, and like decent sized roe deer bucks aren't super common. But you see that 135 to 185 and 25 to 30 for the estimates. There's another roe deer buck right over here with the exact same estimates, 25 to 30 weight, 135 to 185 score. And the competition running for roe deer is, I think, biggest roe deer buckshot with buckshot. Neither of those guys is going to be big enough, but I mean, if we can luck out and they come in around the same time, we might be able to get both, especially with the fact that buckshot from a 12 gauge is probably even overpowered for them, to be honest. I think we'll have a legitimate shot if we take the one in the back first. So we'll try to get that shot in there. That's going to be a drop shot. That guy had literally no chance. And you know what? For the heck of it, we'll take the doe as well. And I hear the kind of barking of another roe deer. They run kind of slow. They almost sort of hop like mule deer for a little while. It's more of like a, I guess, forward hop than the kind of up and down hop that mule deer have. But yeah, that's the hopping that I'm talking about. But when they just run into a rock, it doesn't do super well for them getting away. I guess that one figured it out, so we'll kind of let it go. But I mean, to come up here after spending so much time shooting average stuff, or maybe even slightly above average stuff, and then get to probably, I would say, above average roe deer bucks is not bad. I'm curious though, they had those same estimates, they looked about the same size. What are they actually going to score? So 160.5 for that guy. We have, I think this will be the other buck right here. By the way, that got us into 4th somehow in that competition. I'm guessing there's not too many entries in that. But then this guy, is that not the exact same weight? 10 lower score. I'm glad they don't score the same thing. That would have been a little bit odd, but I think that first one was 28.8 kg as well. Pretty interesting they ended up being like so similar, but yeah, like I said, just kind of switching from seeing a bunch of red deer all around the same size to 2 decent roe deer bucks, although kind of the same size again, is at least a nice change of pace. Well, that is a pretty good sized brown bear. 26 to 29 score estimate, and unfortunately only up to 430 on the weight, but I've seen some pretty good scoring brown bears with low weight. The thing is, we have the shotgun slugs here. I'm not so sure that that's going to do incredibly well. I mean, both of those look good to me. I guess that's going to be fine. So, the negative to, sometimes entering a bunch of competitions is that it really does limit your loadout. And our only kind of long-range weapon today is the shotgun with slugs. And that sort of meant we had to track that guy down and get sort of close range, but I would have preferred to be even closer. He was just spooked, and I figured broadside, probably not going to get a whole lot better than that. But like I said, I have seen some high-scoring brown bears with that lower weight. I thought he had a kind of big head on him, but I've said that about so many brown bears over the years, and I'm usually wrong. So I'm not going to get my hopes up too much. I will say we are in a brown bear competition, but they have to be taken from a stand or a blind or anything, and as you can see, we would have to go about 600 meters in the opposite direction of where he was moving to have a shot at that. So we'll kind of just see what we got for this guy. I mean, he's at that high end of 426 kg. 26.6 though, lower end of the score estimate. Not a bad bear, but certainly not huge. It just never quite seems to work out that we shoot a decent bear on completely flat ground. Because you can see we kind of get his paws hovering there with this trophy shot pose, but back before the animal trophy shot poses existed, this was kind of what I would always try to do. And now, of course, we have these poses, and I just can't get anywhere this flat to look really good. But since he's not huge, we're going to go with that. I mean, 100 GM, clearly that means he's a decent sized bear, but we're looking for probably 28 plus with a brown bear. So I'd like to maybe roam around a little longer, give a little bit longer to run into something good. Because we're kind of still just in that above average area. Nothing quite super special, but I guess, to go about 3 hours, and pretty much every kill is above average, there's something to be said for that anyway. Well, it's certainly not been for lack of trying, but with well over 3 hours spent out here, we're just not seeming to find anything all that special, and yet again, what I would call probably an above average size roe deer out here, and this one actually is a max weight estimate. I actually grabbed the 308 a bit ago because I went up and looked for ibex, and it was kind of just the same story, pretty much some uninteresting males and a bunch of females running around. So rather than spending too much time chasing them, I came back down here and at least there was a decent roe deer buck. And as I mentioned before, to spend that long out here and continually get kind of at least slightly above average kills is definitely not bad. But the hope was to get, something a little better than either, like, say, your 26 brown bears or the low 200s red deer, and unfortunately, that didn't happen today. That said, though, it is going to be nice to have things consistent again. I really wanted to just get out here in Classic and pretty much get back to the normal schedule of Tuesday being Classic videos, so at least we did that by coming out here today, and we had a good hunt. We got a lot of kills, just nothing super special to throw in the trophy lodge or win a competition with, but that's the way it goes. If we got that every time, I don't think this game would be nearly as fun. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.